What's going on, everybody? It's Ricky with Video Homicide. Welcome back to another movie review / recommendation. Today, we're going to go back to the year 1994 to take a look at a film written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, none other than Pulp Fiction. So, Pulp Fiction is one of those movies that, when I first had seen, it really changed how I looked at movies in a whole, like honestly, because it was the first Tarantino film I ever seen. I had heard about Kill Bill when that came out. I remember that being a big deal, but I didn't watch it until years later. Reservoir Dogs, I watched almost right after I seen Pulp Fiction, and I still think that Reservoir Dogs is my favorite Tarantino film, but after this watch from last night, I'm telling you, I fucking love Pulp Fiction. There's a reason why it's on so many people's, top 50 favorite film lists, because it really is good. It's definitely made by a guy that's watched a lot of good exploitation, not just exploitation, but just good movies, because one scene that really stood out to me that I it wasn't as cinematic, I never really thought about it too hard, but that scene where Uma Thurman and John Travolta get back to the house after the dance competition, and she puts on the song on the reel-to-reel, and then she kind of dances back and forth, and the camera goes back and forth with her dancing, and then it ends up with her on the couch sniffing the heroin, thinking it's coke, and just how it sort of fades to black for a minute, and then it comes back in and she's totally haggard. I just found that so cool looking. I know it's terribly graphic, but it's just so mesmerizing, the way that this camera moves in some situations. There is a lot of really long one takes that I just sort of forgot about, that scene with Butch, Bruce Willis's character, walking from the car to his apartment. There's a really long one take there that was really cool. And besides all of the camera motions, you can't really talk about Pulp Fiction without talking about the soundtrack. It's fantastic. It definitely, movies that have songs that are very iconic, you think of Goodfellas. There's a lot of really good songs in Goodfellas. When you hear certain songs, I automatically associate with Goodfellas, and same with Pulp Fiction. You know what I mean? When you hear the song, goes to show you never, the Chuck Berry song, It Was a Teenage Wedding. I think the song's called Never Can Tell. I love that song, but I can't hear that without thinking about the fucking, the twist contest, and I don't even know how to pronounce the name of the song, Miss LaRue. It's that very fast guitar strumming song at the beginning when you get the credits. So let's sort of get into, some of my favorite parts about Pulp Fiction. Assuming you've already seen it, it is a movie that's told out of sequential order, so you kind of have to deal with that. If people complained about that, and I don't understand. I think that's a minority of cinematic moviegoers, though, because it's sort of a popular opinion to have and be oh, fuck Tarantino, overrated, blah, blah, blah. It's I don't know, man. You watch Pulp Fiction, especially being a fan of sort of exploitation-y films, you're going to get so much just good stuff. If all you ever watched was mainstream bullshit, I could understand that. This movie went up against Forrest Gump for the Oscars, and Forrest Gump won. I think it's obvious Forrest Gump would win over this, just because it's so it's a fucking movie about a fuckhead. You know what I mean? Forrest Gump is essentially a fuckhead that rolled the dice a few times and landed on the 4, 5, 6 if you're a CeeLo player. But basically, with Pulp Fiction, we get this opener, and I can remember the first time I watched it on fucking VHS from a tape that we stole from my friend's sister's apartment. But I put that shit on, and you're automatically thrown into this diner, into this conversation with these two robbers, and it's very Tarantino-y, with the top. There's not very much pop culture shit being said there, but it's just very, his whole, Tim Roth's line about, trying to rob a store with a telephone, going to a mom and pop shop. You got I think he says if it's not the Gooks that run the shop, it's some old Jews that have been there for 15 fucking generations. You got Grandpa Irvin sitting behind the counter with a Magnum in his hand. The dialogue in Tarantino shit, whether it's racist, whether it's whatever, you gotta fucking admit it sounds good, for me at least. And I love when they sort of decide, yeah, let's rob the store, or let's rob this restaurant. And Tim Roth's just like, yeah, sure, yeah, all right. And he like fucking finishes a cigarette, takes a sip of coffee, whatever. He pulls his pistol out, jumps up on the table, and then you get that amazing line from the female actress. I forget what her name is, but she's one of the best parts of this film, and she opens the film in such a powerful way with, if any of you fuckers move, I'll execute every last one of you. And before she's finished saying what she's saying, the camera pauses. You pause on that, on like this situation, and it's just like, I love that shit. Another movie that did that really well was Hustle and Flow from about 2005. It was a really good movie about this pimp that wanted to be a rapper, and that's a really good movie in its own right. But absolutely love the opening of this film. As far as like the 3 segments go, or what is it? Okay, so there's 3 or 4 segments. I can't tell you which my favorite one is, because they all, it's all one movie. It's all interwoven. But if I had to pick, I would definitely say the the situation with Jules and John Travolta, Vincent. Like they're everything that happens revolving them. Like everything from them just talking about like cheeseburgers and the hash laws and all that stuff. And you get a sense that these characters like know each other, especially when he's like, tell me again about the hash laws, and he's telling him, and John Travolta says the line, he's like, because Samuel says like, that's awesome. He's like, man, you dig it the most. Like assuming that like Samuel's like this total hash head, or just like guy that is a fucking no regard for any kind of law-abiding citizenship, or whatever you want to call it. But when they get into that apartment, or when they go up to the apartment and they have like that moment where they're like, it's not quite time, let's hang back, and then they go right back into this conversation about how bad it is to give a woman a foot massage, you know what I mean? And like even all of that was great. Like when Travolta brings up the foot massage thing later on at the restaurant, really thought that was good. And I think like when you take Pulp Fiction and you really strip it down, it's just like a bunch of really, really good, interesting conversations being had. Even when he goes to buy the heroin off fucking Eric Stoltz's character, and he's got the dope on the bed, which is an amazing shot. And he goes, this is Choco, this is Bava, an ode to Mario Bava, and this is whatever the last one is. He's like, the first one are pretty good, but this last one's a fucking madman. And Travolta goes, yeah, give me 300 of the Madman, and if it's as good as you say it is, I'll come back for another 1,000. I always wondered, is he talking about $1,000 worth or 1,000 grams worth? Point to ponder. But of course, you can't really talk about Pulp Fiction without bringing up Bruce Willis's story with the gold watch and all that. And it even has a really good moment. Like, we know how important this watch is to Bruce Willis, and we get when he's explaining to his girlfriend, he goes, do you know what my father had to do for this watch? It's a pretty long story, but he had to do a lot. Like, and he just sort of brushed over that. I like that. And Marcellus Wallace's character, played by Ving Rhames, absolutely love him. That part of the story, I think, I was first aware of that story through the Simpsons episode. I forget which one it was, but it's when they go into that pawn shop, dude, and like there's the cop, like Chief, I think it's Chief Wiggum and Snake, like they're Pulp Fiction tied up, like who knows what's about to happen to them. Well, we know what's about to happen to them, but that's vulgar and fucked up. Like, could you imagine that? Like that scene's fucked up when Marcellus Wallace gets raped in the basement, because like if you were Butch, would you have really went back for this fucking guy, or would you have, like, the guy that wants you dead, he's gonna fucking kill your ass, he's prepared to scour the earth, If Butch goes to Indochina, I want a motherfucker in a bowl of rice ready to pop a cap in his ass. This is what this man said. You're gonna go down there and save him, and then he's behind you with a shotgun. And if you notice, after he frees Ving Rhames' character, he's sort of like standing there with like his hands over his crotch, kind of like Spaceballs, yeah, I love this movie. And even all the little bullshit with him and his girlfriend in the the hotel room is like, it's fun. Like, there's nothing in here that I would really take out, because everything sort of complements each other. But definitely Christopher Walken's scene where he talks about this gold watch and everything that went through it, and just the long story of this watch that's been hit up a guy's ass, multiple guys' asses for 7 years, and that Hanoi pit of hell. Like, fuck, dude. Like if there's certain movies out there that I wish I could rewatch for the first time with like the head that I have now, you know what I mean? Like being like a movie watcher and stuff, and just being like a big fan of 70s cinema, especially just rewatching this. It's much like, you know, you could take like a Rob Zombie thing and say that his movies are like ode to 70s movies. Well, I feel like this movie's like an ode to a 70s film as well. Like these two, essentially it's about these two, you know, goons that are just, they would seem to be sort of regular dudes other than when they get into character, you know. And there's that whole scene in the beginning with, you know, they go into this apartment and they know what they're going to do. And they end up killing all these guys, not before Jules gives that iconic Ezekiel 25:17, that speech. Like, the first time I saw that, I was like, what the fuck? This is I was like, is this from the Bible? You know, I don't think it is, but it's just crazy dialogue, man. And obviously later on we get Harvey Keitel as the wolf to come in to help the boys. And one of my favorite parts about that is when he goes, it's 30 minutes away. I'll be there in 10. And then it just shows like the car like fucking speeding up to the house, and all of that's really good too. Like, I assume this place is a pretty domesticated house. I understand under the sink you got cleaner and shit like that. Like, all of that stuff, man. Yeah, I know people give Tarantino shit. He drops the N-bombs and all that stuff, and, you know, whatever. To each, like, I look at movies as movies. I don't look at movies as real life. I think a lot of people, if you get offended by a film, you might as well just go to sleep, because I can't help you, man. It's a movie, it's a word in a film. It's not Tarantino standing there screaming racial slurs at some little kid on the street. So I can't fucking believe I actually have to say that, but, you know, we live in an era where movies like Pulp Fiction probably would be heavily censored if it was coming out now. Like, they'd erase all those N-bombs and all, like, some of the crazier shit, and replace with, like, you know, some kid that's struggling with his mental health that needs to go off to fucking, you know, I don't know. It's just crazy. I'm from a different era, you know what I mean? I'm from an era where Pulp Fiction's awesome. From an era where, you know, I Spit on Your Grave is awesome. You know, some of these movies, they're just disgusting, but I love them. I can't stop watching them. So had to take a little bit of a break through October to watch a couple of non-horror flicks. You know how it is. JP from 22 Shots of Moods and Horror, he said it best once. I think he called it post-October fatigue or something like that. And, like, I'm not saying I'm like burnt out from horror films, but, you know, as a matter of fact, I should mention, I didn't watch this DVD when I watched it this time. I actually watched it on Netflix, because we grabbed Netflix to watch that show Wednesday. And then I ended up watching the show Mindhunter, which was great. And I watched the first episode of that Ed Gein show, and I couldn't get past it. Maybe I'll check it out in the future. But to me, the best part of that was the She-Wolf, you know, the Ilsa She-Wolf of the SS fucking esque story that's happening in there. But, you know, I had Pulp Fiction on tape. I think it's got to be downstairs. But I did recently, yesterday being recently, I brought up a shitload of tapes from the basement. So probably do a few new episodes of VHS Graveyard in the upcoming future. So stay tuned for that. I don't know if I showed this already, but this is actually the screenplay of Pulp Fiction. So it's cool. Like, there's some stuff in here that's different a little bit, but nonetheless really cool. I love when you find these screenplays of films you really like. It's cool, because I got Pulp Fiction, I got Taxi Driver, and I've got Clockwork Orange. So really cool stuff. So that being said, Pulp Fiction, 1994, Quentin Tarantino, also written by Roger Avery. Can't forget about that dude. There's a lot of good Tarantino stuff talking about movies online. Really good stuff. I don't think that Tarantino has ever really done any commentaries, which doesn't help because you can't see shit on the back of this. But you know, this set's cool because it comes with the menu to Jackrabbit Slims, which is hilarious. So yeah, shout out to Tarantino on making one for the ages. Anyways, thanks for watching. Leave a 666 in the comments, and adios.